that was a ball game. Of course, it was pretty muddy, but it was just a question of who got the ball. Because there wasn't any short plays. Whoever got the ball, one time, Warren McVeigh would return it the next time. Linus Bear would return it, and it was just kept one touchdown after another.
What prompted you to go to the game?
Well, I'm from Breckenridge. I wanted to go see Breckenridge win, and I took my son. I thought he'd enjoy it. He still remembers it to this day. So we had a great time, and that was some ball game, I tell you that.
Did you have good seats?
Yeah, we had good seats. We were about third row back. We could see everything.
Ronnie, how you doing?
Just a great game.
I missed the last one.
I don't think I've ever seen one top it yet.
At the end of the ball game, I opened up the press box door, and Rody Gonzalez was on the phone up in the press box, and I says, "Rody, let them score and y'all can win." But they didn't do that.
What impressed you most about the game, Charlie?
Well, it was exciting. You know, it was the matter who had the ball last. It looked like, you know, either Linus Bear or Warren McVeigh.
Was it bad defense or just great offense?
I think it was good offense. I think Brack got the Lee kids, their confidence got lost.
Are you ready?
You know,
Are you ready?
He got to running the ball on them, and
What'd you
you know, it was just one of those wide open ball games for back in those days.
I think that was probably one of the most significant high school games in the history of our state, Gary. I was very fortunate as a young coach to be present at that game, and just so many things struck you besides there being some marquee players like Bear and McVeigh. There were a lot of good football players, and that game was probably talked about not only in the state of Texas, but all across this nation, and it even carried overseas with a lot of conversation. So for interest of high school football, it had a tremendous positive impact.
How about to the city itself? It was kind of the north side against the south side, a lot of Hispanic and black kids against the more affluent white kids.
You know, the great thing about athletics is it doesn't make any difference where you're from, what your background is. You line up and play. And I think the significance of a game like that, regardless of economic status, is it's a bunch of kids out there playing the game, and they're playing to the best level that they can. And so it was exposure for all levels of young people. And the schools received equal exposure, the kids received equal exposure, and so it's just a great setting to see something like that happen in front of a packed stadium like that game did.
Beginning of fourth period, Brack kicks deep. Big mistake. Linus Bear 5, 10, 15, 20. Got a wall, and a wedge comes to the outside. Breaks free. 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. Nobody's going to get him. He cuts inside. He will go all the way for a touchdown. 95 yards for Linus Bear. 3rd and 6. At the Lee 46-yard line, Warren fakes to Boone, comes outside, dances and prances and slashes into the secondary. They won't get him. He's going to ramble 46 yards for the touchdown. Warren McVeigh scores one more time. The attempted kick conversion by McVeigh. Watch out. He's going to pass across field. He's got a man open. It's going to go for 2, and it's now Lee 48-41.
Breckenridge lines up to kick. It's another onside-er. And they're going to recover this time at the Breckenridge 47-yard line. 1st and 10. Elmo Washington around the left-hand side, and he's going to gain 4 yards. That brings up 2nd and 6. Boone to the left-hand side, rambles all the way down to the Lee 28-yard line. That sets up a 3rd and 2 situation. Warren McVeigh under center. He keeps it around to the left-hand side and gains the 1st down. Once again, Warren McVeigh. He'll roll out to the right, keep. He's going to go 5 yards and in for the touchdown. Here's the extra point. It's up. It's good. The score, Lee 48, Breckenridge 48.
keeps. Gets the first down to the Lee 31. That's a key play. Time is running out, 3rd and 7. Kemp. Pass is complete to Marquette, keeping the drive alive. What a key play in this drive. First down at the Brack 12-yard line. This 1st and 10 at the 1-yard line, 1st and goal. Townsend gets the call. In for the touchdown. That could be it. As Lee goes in front, 54 to 48, and a PAT is yet to come. Linus Baird to boot. There's an offsides, but the kick is up and good, and it's 55-48. It's 1st and 10. McVeigh goes to the left, looks for the tackle eligible, and it's complete. That's a 9-yard pickup. Will he make it in time? Perhaps time for a Hail Mary. It's desperation time, 2nd and 1. McVeigh keeps to the right side, gets by one tackler, evades the second, but they stop him for no gain, and that ends the ball game 55-48. The Volunteers have won it.
I'm Chris Maru of KENS 5 Eyewitness News. I graduated from Robert E. Lee High School in 1964, which means the big game was my senior year. A lot of people ask if I went to it. Yes, I was there that night. I was the star quarterback. Okay, I was the head cheerleader. Okay, I was the announcer for the band, okay? But anyway, I was there that night, and it was really a great game. The thing that I liked most, and most people liked about it, was it was a big game. It was much talked about, and it actually lived up to that. Lee would score, then be ahead, and then Brack would score, and they'd be ahead, and then Lee, and then Brack, and of course the final score was very, very high. But I do feel that at the end of the game, it was really building and building throughout the game. And at the end of the game, there was such emotion going. In the last 2 minutes, when Lee finally decided the whole game, and Lee won the game, the joy was just unbelievable for all of the Lee students there and everyone having something to do with Lee. And if you recall that was 1 week after John F. Kennedy was assassinated, joy was in pretty short supply in those days.
We had scrimmages with Brackenridge, and I knew Warren McVeigh and Linus Bair, not personally, but I'd played against them. And everyone wanted to see this game. And in fact, Alamo Stadium, as I recall, was completely packed and sold out. It had like 24,000 people, which was unusual.
I'm going to give this to him.
And as I mentioned to you earlier, what I remember very distinctly is the first time Brackenridge came out of the huddle, Warren McVeigh, instead of being in his traditional left halfback position, was playing quarterback. And that was a tactical maneuver by Weldon Foran, their coach, to get the ball in his hands every time. First play that he touched the ball, as I recall, I could be corrected, I haven't seen the film lately, but as I recall, he went left about 3 steps, cut upfield, went about 75 yards, no one even touching it for a first touchdown. And then it was back and forth all night long. Also the kickoff returned by Linus Bair for 95 yards. As I recall, that was the only time that Brackenridge ignored their strategy and kicked the ball to him. Typically they had short kickoffs to other people. They'd try to keep the ball away from Linus Bair. So, and I also remember to look at the clock with a minute to go in the game. It was 48-48.
It was a cold night. Alamo Stadium was more crowded than I'd ever seen it. Of course, I was just a kid then, you understand. And I remember Warren McVeigh in purple taking the snaps from center. And it seems like the plays weren't really too well organized. He'd either carry it left or carry it right. And that's what I remember.
Ed?
Well, I remember that, as I recall, that's a long time ago, but as I recall, McVeigh and Bair were both the kickers for their teams. And so when they kicked off, they would not kick it to Bair, wouldn't kick it to McVeigh, and McKay wouldn't kick it to Bair. But so they'd kick a squib kick or whatever it was, so that they wouldn't. And one time McVeigh made a mistake and kicked it to Bair, and he ran it back for a touchdown, just like Brackenridge knew he'd do. And it was certainly the most exciting game I've ever seen.
It is fitting that we include all the players who were on the programs for that playoff game in November of '63. But first, we want to pay tribute to the men who are no longer with us, who also played in that ball game. For the Lee Volunteers, Miguel Nahar, guard. Starting quarterback, Gary Kemp. And Kirk Cameron, center. For the Brackenridge Eagles, Louis Pettis, center. And Carlos Lavastida, guard. We hope you've enjoyed this look back into history at the Lee Brackenridge game of 1963. The game, as some refer to it. This program was made possible by the Northeast Independent School District, by the Valero Energy Corporation, by International Bank of Commerce, by Amcorp Incorporated in Financial Services and Insurance. If you'd like a copy of this program, it's available upon your request. You simply send an email to www.neisd.net, care of Media Production Department, or you can call 210-804-7245.